never nice to be in that situation where, you know, the person who you thought you were going to be with is, you know, treating you in that way, you know. I And obviously because I was pregnant as well, it was just, it was terrible. It was really, really, really terrible. And as I said, so when I did decide to go to the police, and then I spoke to the social worker and stuff like that, that was when they were saying, you know, did this happen? And it was only then that I realized the extent of the abuse that I was going through. And I was traumatized because I had isolated myself from my family. I'd not cut them off completely, but our relationship had been damaged, you know. Friends as well, and I was literally all alone when everything came out. I was ashamed to even go back to my parents and my family and tell them the stuff that had been happening, and everybody was just so shocked because on the outside, like, we just looked like the perfect family. Honestly, we looked like, you know, like goals, you know what I mean? But on the inside, it was nothing like that, you know. Not every day. It wasn't every day. That's the problem as well. It wasn't every day. It was like just once in a while these things would erupt, and very subtly would be occurring within our relationship, to the point where I didn't even realize I was being broken down and broken down and broken down and broken down. And then obviously after that, the actual incident happened, we broke up for a good 2 years. And then I thought that I was over, like, this. I thought I was over that situation. I thought I've healed. I'm strong enough now to just, you know, continue on with my life and stuff like that. And then what happened was we ended up communicating again, and before I knew it, I was back in that situation again. Like, after I had promised myself I'd never go back there, I even made a vlog about it, talking about what happened to me and stuff like that. And I ended up back in that situation again. But this time, before we got into the relationship, we had spoken, and he's just seemed so different, you know. He seemed like he'd thought about what had happened. He'd been working on himself, you know, and he'd been working on, like, thinking about what had gone wrong and stuff, even though he had moved on in that period of time, as had I, should I say. But when we connected again, it seemed different. So again, we ended up resuming a relationship, and for the first couple of months it was great. Like, I can't lie, like, everything was really great. And I was like, yeah, thank God he's actually changed. I've got my man back. But as time went on, I began to see the signs of, you know, the mental abuse, not the physical, more of the mental, you know, confusing me, making me question myself, making me question my thought patterns and how I think, making me feel quite worthless, you know. And even, like, I noticed a change in the behavior of my children as well. And it was at that point, as soon as I realized that, you know, when he was at the house, the kids were sort of withdrawing themselves. That was it. I literally cut the relationship off. You know, even haven't really, like, spoken about this much, but even when I ended up getting pregnant, because obviously we didn't plan for our son Noah to be born, but he was just so adamant that he didn't you know, we wasn't ready for a child and stuff like that. And he may have been right that me and him were not ready to have a child together because of, you know, for whatever reason. But I knew within myself I wanted to keep him. I knew I didn't want to have an abortion. But I feel like he was so subtly trying to pressure me into not keeping the baby. You know, he would say, oh, you know, this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen, it's gonna cause this, me and you are gonna end up, you know, breaking up, or not, like, it was gonna cause pressure on our relationship, which may have been true. But at the same time, like, it was like he was dropping subtle hints to say get rid of the child. And so I turned around and I said, what are you saying? Do you want me to get rid of the baby? And he was like, well, I'm not saying that. I never said that. Do you know what I mean? And I'd be so confused. I'm like, well, what is it that you're saying? Do you know what I mean? So if I had turned around and, you know, gone and got rid of the baby, it would have, I believe that it would have been a thing of, well, that was your decision, you decided to do that, da 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 da. Whereas I feel like I would have been going off of what he wanted, and that for me is the definition of narcissism, you know, just spinning things around on you and stuff like that. So yeah, we broke up after that, and I literally had to do some serious soul searching. Like, what on earth will cause you to go back to the person who have broke you down so many times, cheated on you, you know, manipulated, lied? What would make you go back to that person, you know? And I realized it was a lot to do with me still not appreciating myself enough, still not valuing myself enough. But it was also deeper than that. It was to do with things that I had been through in my childhood as well. I've mentioned before things like having daddy issues, you know, not like wanting that love from, you know, a man, the love that I wanted to get from my dad. Even though I had a really good relationship with my dad as a child, it was like my teen years where things started to drop off. I really wanted to have that love that I was lacking back then, with somebody. So I allowed myself to go into any situation that looked like love, and that felt like love at the time. And no matter what, I was fighting for it. Even when it wasn't right for me, I was still fighting for it. And I feel like that is a common factor in abuse situations, you know. Um, you know, a lot of women go into this go into relationships because they're looking for love or whatever, and you know, there are men out there who will prey on women like that, vulnerable women, you know, broken women and stuff. They'll prey on them because they're easily manipulated and stuff like that. But yeah, but then obviously there's another side to, there's emotional abuse, you know. They'll just make you feel a way about yourself. Ugh, it's just disgusting, you know. It's just really disgusting. So one thing that I just wanted to make everybody aware of is that physical abuse is not the only type of abuse. Mental abuse is very, very, very real. Gaslighting, you know, making you feel like you're, you know, crazy. Like, for example, I'll give an example of gaslighting. um you know, let me think of an example. If last week, yeah, he said to you like, oh, I'm gonna give you £50 so you can go shopping on Friday. Like, say the Friday before, he said, I'm gonna give you £50 next week Friday for you to go shopping. And then next week Friday comes and he ain't said nothing about it. So you're like, oh, can I have that £50 that you said you was gonna give me? What £50? What are you talking about? I never said that I was going to give you £50. You're crazy. You're actually crazy. Do you know what I mean? That's gaslighting, making you question your sanity, making you question yourself. All of that, like, it's, you know, and the thing is, it's actually scary because you do actually then begin to question yourself. Am I okay in my head and stuff like that? That happened to me quite a lot. Narcissism, you know, them narcissists who, you know, make you believe that you're the problem. They will argue with you and then, or start an argument with you and then turn around and say, you're the problem, you're arguing with me, this is your fault, da 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 da, and just making you like, you know, it's just, ugh, it's really horrible. and being unable to apologize for situations, and then you find yourself constantly apologizing to this person just to appease them, just to bring down the tension in the house. They're never wrong. They've never done anything wrong. It's always you. It's your fault. You've done this. You've got me in this state. You've got me in this position, and da 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 da. That's narcissism. And my advice to you is, sis, if that is what you're going through, seriously, just run, leave before it's too late. Honestly, it's not worth sticking around, honestly. Like, and the thing is, it can end up being detrimental, because like me, I got to the point where I literally wanted to end my life because I was so confused, and I was just so, I just had, like I said, I had centered my world around this guy, and when I felt like that situation was slipping away from me, I just didn't see a point in like carrying on. I like, it was just even down to things like he would make me feel a way about how I parented my children and stuff like that, and that was what made me feel like, okay, if I'm not here, the kids will be better off without me, and it's just not true. It's just not true. And there's just it's a lot to take in, but it's very important to recognize the signs of abuse. It's very important. And even like I mentioned earlier, abuse from from friends or family and stuff like that, you shouldn't tolerate it either. At the end of the day, your mental health is the most important thing. If you don't have your mental health, you have nothing, because you're just not there. You're not you anymore. And if you allow a situation to drive you to the point where your mental health is in question, you need to leave. You need to leave immediately. Parents can be narcissistic as well. My parents weren't narcissistic, but I've heard of situations where the parent will treat the child in such a narcissistic way that the child grows up with emotional and mental problems. I mentioned in the last vlog about attachment styles, and people who come from like narcissistic parents, they often have like a certain attachment style, which is like insecure. They're not secure within themselves. They're just worried about if this person's going to leave, if this person's going to be nice to them today, is this person going to act like they love them today, are they going to show them affection today, and stuff like that. These things all cause trauma within people from childhood to adulthood. It causes trauma, and unless you deal with it, you're going to be trailing around this trauma, and it's going to go from whatever situation you're in, relationship to relationship, and that trauma is going to be within you, and it's going to end up coming out and potentially just destroying everything that you put your hands to. Friendships, relationships, even at work, stuff like that. It's something that you really have to deal with. These different types of emotional and mental abuse. It's not a nice thing to go through. And I know that there are a lot of women out there who are in these situations, and they feel like there's no way out for them. They feel like, oh my gosh, he's got me here in this situation. I have no money to leave. Because a lot of, even like, we didn't speak about financial abuse.